raise your hand if you've ever felt like your body is failing you. Not me raising my hand over here. I have felt this way so many times. The sheer frustration that we can experience when our bodies just are not doing the things we think they're supposed to be doing, or when we have unexplained symptoms or unexplained pain or unexplained infertility, or all of these different things that can make us go, why is my body revolting against me? What is going on? And it can feel even more frustrating when we don't know why. Why is my skin breaking out in acne? I eat pretty clean, right? Why is my body not getting pregnant? And all my friends are. You're listening to She with me, Jordan Lee Dooley, a faith-based wellness podcast to support you in your motherhood journey and inspire you to be good to your body. Come invited, leave ignited. One way or another, I think we've all experienced this feeling, and we may not have articulated it this way, like I feel like my body's failing me, but the frustration, the discouragement, the anger, the even resentment we may have toward our body is kind of rooted in that belief. Like, hey, you're not functioning the way that I think you should be, or you are not looking the way that I think you should be in spite of my best efforts. I'm working out every day, or I'm trying to eat healthy, or I'm doing these things, and you're just like not losing the weight. You're not getting pregnant. The skin isn't clearing up. The thing isn't fixing itself, right? And gosh, I remember I think of so many different times I felt this way, but especially during our journey to try to have kids and the journey through recurrent miscarriages and the why is this happening, and the journey with my skin when I had chronic inflamed cystic acne, not just like the occasional breakout that we all get here and there, but truly like lumps underneath my skin, painful lumps, lots of just congestion in spite of trying to get on the best skincare and seeing dermatologists and eating relatively clean and cutting out dairy and doing all of the quote unquote right things they tell you to do for acne. I'm like, why does my face look like that of a 14-year-old and not a 25-year-old? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so regardless of what the specifics may be of your experience with this feeling, the reality is I think we've all experienced it to some extent, and I want to talk about it. In fact, I wrote about this whole feeling and this experience and the truth behind this lie that we believe my body is failing me in Be Good to Your Body, because I truly believe what we believe about our bodies shapes how we treat them, period. If we're mad at them, if we're resenting them, if we're believing that they're failing us, or that there's something wrong with them, or that they're, a mess or whatever, we're going to treat them as such. And we can go to one or two extremes. It doesn't really matter what I do anyway, because it's just going to be a hot mess, like whatever. And we can kind of be tempted to just throw in the towel on all things caring for ourselves, right? Or we can go to the opposite extreme, which I know I've done. I've kind of vacillated between the two, depending on the day and the season and kind of how I was feeling. But sometimes we can go to the opposite extreme and almost like reach for control and try to control everything and do everything perfectly in the name of healing or health or trying to fix something. And very quickly we begin to treat our body like a project to fix, right? More so than a gift. And instead of just stewarding them well and trying to care for them well, we start to try to control them, to control the outcome, the clearing the skin, the getting pregnant, the losing weight, whatever the goal or objective might be. And those are great objectives. Nothing wrong with trying to clear your skin. Nothing wrong with wanting to have a baby, right? Like all of those are good things, but we can get so focused on the objective or the outcome we're focused on that we begin to try to control our body so much so that instead of, caring for them well, we start to almost punish them. We put ourselves in such intense protocols and such intense rules and all of these things that we shift from intentional stewardship to full-blown obsession and control. So depending on, where we're at and how we're feeling, we might vacillate between the two, or we might find ourselves in one extreme where we're just kind of like, whatever, I'm going to eat and do and, live however I want, because it doesn't really matter what happens, or it doesn't really matter what I do because my body's going to do what it's going to do anyway, and I'm over it. So all of that said, I want to talk about this feeling, and I'm going to read a little excerpt from Be Good to Your Body where I shared a little bit more of my story with this, because unfortunately, we don't all get the clarity or the answers or the exact why something may be happening within our bodies or, with our health. But sometimes when you do get that clarity, or you at least have a better understanding of what might be going on, you can show your body a little bit more compassion, a little bit more grace. And my hope is that even if you don't have a clear answer at this point, and if you're wrestling with this feeling or this frustration, that it be a reminder that your body isn't just being a big jerk for no apparent reason, because sometimes it can be easy to believe that that's what it's doing. So let me read this excerpt from Be Good to Your Body to you, just to kind of give you a little preview into maybe one of my favorite chapters in this book, because this chapter is called Reframe Your Body Beliefs. And like I said, what you believe about your body directly influences the way you treat it, the things you do for it, the things you don't do for it, right? Like, it's hard to be good to your body if you don't believe your body is a good thing. It's hard to care for your body if you're constantly criticizing it. And so coming back to wait, maybe I need to reframe how I'm viewing, things I'm believing about my body, whether it's my size, my appearance, a symptom, something that I'm chronically struggling with. Maybe I need to rethink some of those things because my beliefs are directly shaping my behavior. So let me read this kind of excerpt to you from this chapter, Reframe Your Body Beliefs. I was pee my pants nervous as I walked into the surgery center for a diagnostic laparoscopy and hysteroscopy in hopes of finding answers to my fertility challenges. Between miscarriages, gnarly PMS symptoms, and suddenly being unable to get pregnant altogether, although conception had been relatively quick and easy the first couple of times, this was after a couple of miscarriages I'm writing about, I was feeling angry at my body. I felt as though it had failed me. I'd been poked and prodded for endless tests already, and the thought of willingly lying on an operating table to be cut open and investigated made me feel vulnerable, like I was a failure as a woman. I was nervous that the doctors would find something, like endometriosis and what that could mean, and I was equally nervous that they wouldn't find anything, leaving me with nothing more than a scar and no further clarity than I had before. Have you ever felt like that? Like your body's failing you? Maybe because of infertility, or maybe because of something else, such as hair loss, skin issues, or chronic illness. Whatever it is, if there's something that's causing you disappointment or even a little frustration toward your body, I want to talk about it, because I know from personal experience that when I believed my body was failing me, I looked at it like it was a science project or experiment to figure out more than as a blessing. I spent more time criticizing than caring for it. I resented it. And as a result, I tried to manipulate and control it by doing things like restricting major food groups more than I replenished minerals and nutrients. And the truth is, it's really difficult to be good to your body when you're believing lies about it. It's not natural to care for your body when you're constantly criticizing it or trying to correct it. It's hard to give your body good things when you don't believe that it is a good thing. It's tough to replenish your body with the nutrients it needs and the rest it needs when you literally resent it. So in order to be good to our bodies, we have to address the beliefs we have about them and run those beliefs through the lens of what the Bible has to say about them. I groggily awoke from surgery to see my husband with an eager look on his face. "What'd they say?" I asked as I closed my eyes to shield them from the lights of the recovery room. "They found endometriosis and endometritis," he said excitedly, clearly grateful for answers. I wasn't sure I was as excited. On the one hand, answers, that's good, right? But on the other hand, a low-grade chronic infection, which is endometritis, and chronic disease, endometriosis, that's not exactly a good thing. I sat there quietly for a moment, processing it all. It's kind of weird. When you spend years battling with your body, it's almost like you want bad news. You want a clear diagnosis and an answer so you can finally address the problem at hand. In a way, that kind of clarity helps you have a little more compassion toward your body. Otherwise, it can seem like it's just being a big jerk for no apparent reason. Wow, I thought, I've been over here mad at my body for failing me. And this whole time, it's been fighting a nasty disease and infection, and I had no idea. Did you catch that? I thought my body was failing me, but in reality, it was fighting for me. But it took clarity for me to be able to see and believe that. Unfortunately, we don't always get that clarity. We don't always know exactly what's going on, or it can take years to find out. In fact, in the case of endometriosis, it takes about a decade to get a diagnosis, 10 years. That means that the average woman with this disease can spend 10 years or more of her life believing the lie that her body is broken or failing. Listen, my body and your body are not defective, and they don't just work improperly for no reason. Our bodies aren't failing us. They're fighting for us in a fallen world that fails us, and that differentiation makes all the difference. As we long for the restoration and wait for the wholeness of heaven, our bodies exist outside of the garden. Every single day, they're up against obstacles that inhibit their ability to thrive, from environmental toxins to highly stressful situations and everything in between. And although I've said it before, this feels like an appropriate place to say it again. In one way or another, every single one of us will be touched by death, decay, and disease. Because here's the truth. It's not your body's fault. It's sin's fault. It's the result of the fall. And your body isn't broken, but it will be touched by brokenness on this side of heaven. Again, another important differentiation. So whether or not you have a specific answer or diagnosis, and whether it's pain, infertility, acne, weight, or something else that's making you feel as though your body is failing you, I want to encourage you to ask yourself this question. what if my body isn't failing me, but is actually fighting for me? And I think the more we can come back to that, the more we can revisit that truth, the more likely we are to be able to have a little bit of compassion toward our bodies, care for them more than we criticize, and give them the good things they need, because we believe that our bodies are a good thing. They are a God-given gift, not just a project to fix or a problem to deal with. And that allows us to give them good things, to be consistent, to be disciplined without reaching for control and trying to manipulate our bodies or obsess over every little thing, but also without just neglecting health and well-being altogether, because we're discouraged, we're over it, our bodies are going to fail us anyway, whatever narrative we're believing, because we can very quickly end up in those two camps. But we want to be right in the middle. We want to have some flexibility, some grace, some reality check that we can't control everything, but we also don't want to tip so far into, well, forget it all, it doesn't matter anyway. Like everything's going to kill me, right? We can quickly believe that and kind of get apathetic. And yes, ultimately, in some way or another, everything will kill us if you really want to be morbid about it, because we live in a fallen world and no one gets out of this life alive, right? At least not physically, but your body's a gift. Your body is the one vehicle you've been given on this side of heaven to carry out your calling, to do the things you're made to do. And it's worth, investing in it, but not neglecting out of frustration and not obsessing over out of frustration. So all that in mind, I want to wrap up by sharing just something that a counselor shared with me when I was really in kind of the pit of this feeling of my body's failing me. I'm so frustrated with it. I was frustrated with my acne. I was frustrated with my fertility stuff, all the things. And I remember a counselor that I was meeting with, a therapist, she said to me, be careful how you speak, because we can very quickly start to identify with the symptoms or the struggles or the things that our body's experiencing without even intending to. We start making the endometriosis diagnosis, my endometriosis, or the thyroid issue, my thyroid problem, or the acne, my acne, because we just start to assume that's part of who we are. It's part of what we're going to deal with every day. And, our bodies are designed in a beautiful, incredibly divine way to be able to heal, to be able to thrive. And I had a hard time believing that when I wasn't seeing much improvement for years, despite my best efforts when it came to acne, for example. But eventually, with enough diligence and consistency and patience, and just kind of simplifying what I was doing. I was trying so many products and protocols and all the things, and it was almost overwhelming my skin and my body. And so when I simplified and went back to the good things God made and whole real foods and, simplifying all the health stuff, reducing stress, my skin began to clear, right? And the truth is, even the Bible speaks of that, right? I wrote this in Be Good to Your Body. It says, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. That's from Proverbs 18:21. There is power in our words and power in our thoughts. And although we may not think much about the words we use when it comes to caring for our bodies, the thoughts we have and the words that we speak are truly at the foundation of it all. Why? Because as I said, what we believe will directly influence what we do and how we treat our bodies. If we believe and speak life and truth, that will elicit a response of caring for our bodies as a good part of God's creation. If we believe and speak life and truth in spite of what symptom or circumstance we may be experiencing, that will elicit a response of caring for our bodies as part of God's good creation. But if we believe and speak death and lies, that will elicit a response of criticism and maybe even a hyperfixation on whatever it is we're criticizing. The world will tell you everything that's wrong with your body and sell you on how it can all be fixed with a pill, potion, product, or procedure. But the truth is, your body needs to be supported, not fixed. And although there are absolutely times that quality products like natural skincare or even some procedures such as to repair an ailment or remove disease can be helpful or even necessary, the best way to support your body is to start with what you believe, to speak truth, to be gentle and patient with it, and to give it the good things God made daily. I'm going to wrap up there. That's just a few little previews into Be Good to Your Body. But if this spoke to you, if this is something you struggle with, if this is a belief you struggle with, if that's influencing how you behave toward your body, the way you treat it, all the things, if anything that I shared with you today resonates, I really want to encourage you to grab a copy of Be Good to Your Body. This is kind of the foundation of so much of the material in this book. And I really believe it will help you get back to God's good design in a world full of quick fixes, convenience, trends, wellness trends, and lots of conflicting health advice that can be so exhausting and overwhelming to navigate. So if this resonated, grab a copy. You can go to jordanleedooley.com/BGTYB, Be Good to Your Body. That's the acronym for that. Or click the link in the show notes and grab yourself a copy. To learn more about the She Podcast or get involved in our growing community, come hang out on Instagram at jordanleedooley or check out the show notes for each episode at jordanleedooley.com/show notes. Thanks for tuning in today, and until next time, stay rooted in faith and remember to do the small things to be good to your body daily.